Okay.
So let's pretend that's not there. Okay. So you had time to watch your videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have some questions that I want to start with. But before you do that, I just want to know kind of like, what did you notice? What were your overall like ahas? Because I noticed that you have some notes.
Yeah, the biggest aha was that the class is better and stays engaged when I just keep going. Even if one student is being distracting or something happens, if I just keep going, the class tends to track that and stay with the lesson and we don't get off.
Okay.
So even if it means that like one student is not fully focused, I need to do like a quick reminder and then keep moving on. Because otherwise we spend a lot of the lesson working through that, and then I lose other kids while I'm trying to get the one kid back.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. And so I know that I videoed different snippets from throughout the day, but let's just start with scaling. So like on a scale of 1 to 10 for all the little different parts, 1 being the worst kind of lesson that you've ever done, 10 being the best, what would you give the videos in general? What number?
Probably like 6 or 7.
Okay.
And it was interesting, I think, because from going from videoing for EdTPA, I had a baseline of like the teacher I used to be, and I was like, this is much better teaching than it was a year ago.
Oh, cool.
So it was cool to see like how far I've come.
Oh, cool.
But then that's also like, okay, that's how far I've come. I know where I can do better now.
That's awesome. So tell me about that. Like, what did you notice that you were like, ooh, I'm doing really awesome in this? Or like, I've changed that since EdTPA. Like, those are some things that we should highlight.
I think being more engaging and entertaining versus, I think originally it was EdTPA, I was very monotone and I was here's the lesson. And with this one, I was a lot more enthusiastic. And I noticed that too with like the more, it's almost like acting, where it's like acting is reacting. So the more enthused I am, the more enthused they tend to be.
Okay.
So much more enthusiastic than previous lessons. Also, where I would have told myself, where I would have been like ignore that student, just keep going, or build off of that response, building off of responses they gave me, I think I've improved.
So like in the moment responsiveness. That's
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and so those are kind of some things that pleased you about the lesson. And so you gave it like a 6.5, 7. So what would you have changed to move it closer to the 10?
I think I would have like celebrated more, because I think they were doing things really well, and acknowledging that and celebrating those. Doing whole class celebrations are also a way that it's like a mini brain break, where we're not necessarily doing content, but we're moving and celebrating, like with a roller coaster or a superstar. Like we're taking a break to appreciate what we're doing, and then it's more incentive for other students to participate and earn like an award. And also because they are chatty, doing more turn and talks, especially if we're on the dot rug, or hand up, stand up, pair up, something that gets them moving and talking in a structured way.
Okay.
Because that's engagement that I do not have to be like singing a song at the top of my lungs or dancing around like crazy. That's like self-guided engagement. So I want to push towards more, self-guided engagement.
Okay.
Class.
So let me paraphrase what I heard.
Okay.
So in order to move your lesson, you said 2 things. You said you want to incorporate more celebrations to give kids that brain break, and to really incorporate the asset-based behavior kind of management plan of like noticing and naming when things are going really well. And then you also said you want to incorporate more turn and talks, because kids are talking and you want to give them some specific things to talk about.
Yes.
And then so it's not like sage on stage, but it's more like student-centered.
Right.
Cool. Okay. So if that, like, tell me more about what that would look like. Like on a given day, if you had the turn and talk and the celebration, like paint a picture for me. And you can think of a lesson if that helps tie it to something.
I think you were here for math, and I think that's a good one because we've had like the most consistency with math, and they seem to really enjoy math the most.
Okay.
So if we had like a typical day in math, we usually go like from connection circle to math. We could go we could, before we exit connection circle, we could practice our turn and talk. Say, tell somebody one thing you heard. You know, maybe we shared our favorite animal. Like, share another animal you heard today. Just to because that's not as content-y as something in math. So then, when we transition to math, we do it, we hopefully do it quickly, and we start with the warm-up, which is something we know from the day before. That's another opportunity for a turn and talk. We celebrate students who share out what they heard from the turn and talk, and then I say, I'm glad you brought that up, or that was a really good way to point out because today we're talking about this. Then we do one small part of the lesson. We do a turn and talk to like remember information. Like when we switch the numbers, the answer is the same. Turn and tell a partner what happens when we switch the numbers. Turn back, share out, celebrate, next part. Turn and talk, share out, celebrate, next part. I think that's, if I could follow that structure, that would be good.
So it sounds like you want to do a gradual release, but with more catch and release, because it sounds like the workshop is a little bit too much releasing, and so you need to do little catch and releases throughout your mini lesson to check for understanding and using celebration to support positive behavior.
I like mini catch and release.
Okay. Did I capture that? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I think that's great, and I think especially for this class and right now, I think that's a good place to start.
I agree. When I think about, because I'm learning about primary as well, and I think, I don't know that they're ready for the 10-minute mini lesson, 30-minute work time yet. I think they need more.
Yeah. And then, but it can't be like them sitting with me talking for 30 minutes either. So it has to be a structured, yes.
Okay, and so it sounds like, how would we measure, like if you wanted to do a catch and release using more accountable conversation to help that, an accountable talk, how would we measure that? Like
the number of students who volunteer to share after turn and talk.
Okay.
I would like to see an increase in that. I think that can be like a formative, I would like to see more hands. Also, that's a good formative because if not a lot of students raise their hands, maybe need to go back.
Okay.
Because they're not quite getting it.
Okay.
Another formative would be like listening to turn and talks. Like if I can be right there and listen to conversations, and I'm hearing a lot of like misconceptions or not quite ideas. And then the, I guess more summative would be when we do the release to math journals and I meet with small groups at the back table, how many of them are successfully covering that, like completing that, what we've learned in the math journals? How are they applying it?
Okay. That sounds like you have clear, measurable outcomes. That's awesome. And so is like increasing accountable talk in your math workshop a goal that you feel like would help student growth and achievement?
Yes, I think especially considering the number of students I have who, because we're paired on our JOTs as LEPs and NEPs, so when we do more oral sharing, I think it would benefit those students. But I think it also benefits, it's an opportunity for some of the kids to teach, some of them to be in a leader position, like take on that responsibility. And then I think talking through things is a good way to transition to applying them. Like having a thought partner in something first, like with, even if it's just on the dot rug, sharing something you've just done.
Right.
And that's more repetition too. So I think like the more we repeat it and then talking about it first, I would see growth in content.
Okay, awesome. And so I'm gonna so it sounds like we kind of have a goal, and so something that I'm learning about through the Impact Cycle book is that there's a vetting list to see if it's like a peers goal, like to really kind of vet it out.
Okay.
So will this goal, when reached, make a big difference in students' lives? I feel like you just answered that. And what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you said students will be teaching others, students will be practicing repetition, your NEPs and your LEPs will have oral rehearsal before they're asked to produce written work. and it will create an opportunity for you to confer versus being the one on the stage.
Right. I think also as overall that the more we interact with our classmates, the better our relationships in the classroom are.
So it might help you alleviate some of those like tattletailings.
Yes.
Like build empathy a little bit.
Right.
Okay, and so is this goal simple, clear, and easy to understand?
I feel like it is because I planned out how it would look in a math lesson. I can easily envision it in a math lesson. They've had practice with training talks in non-content and some content. So yes, I think it is. I think it is would be easy.
It's something that you feel like wouldn't be, oh my god, another thing, but something that would actually help.
I think it is. It's not like we're climbing a hill all of a sudden. This is like a good next step.
Okay. Like, does this goal really matter to you? So the next E is emotionally compelling. Like, is this something you feel passionate about?
Yes, because it's something my class needs. And, like, again, that takes pressure off of me to be the one entertaining them all the time or providing all the content. Like, I think so emotionally, I'm very enthusiastic about if we can get this to work.
Yes. We
I'm
already
invested.
good. Okay, so we talked about a measurable outcome, and that might look like me kind of counting, like student talk. It could also look like another video for us to look at together. It could also look like producible work, like
Yes.
producible work now versus in 5 weeks when we measure. And then I think the goal is about achievement, behavior, and attitudes rather than. Is the goal about achievement, behavior, or attitude rather than a teacher or a strategy?
I think it is about all three. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's not about me, like I feel like it is about them, the students. Like it's about them being able to produce better work, understanding better behavior in terms of like structured talking and getting along with peers, and attitude in the way that hopefully this will build their confidence in math too.
So they'll start to see themselves as mathematicians because they're teaching someone else.
Because they're teaching someone else, because we're celebrating when they do well, and that they can answer questions and turn in talks.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, McKenna.
Thank you.